when I started working here, one of my goals was to bring more outside type of performances and educational opportunities to Great River Arts to fulfill our mission of being a center of cultural and community engagement. And our speaker tonight fit that bill just perfectly. So when I got a hold of him and I said, hey, can you come and do this for me? He said, absolutely. And so tonight, it was really awesome when he walked in that door and we were able to share a hug and say hi after not seeing each other for I don't know how long. But tonight, you're going to find out why I have thought the world of this guy for the past 40 years, as long as I've known him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Great River Arts stage, author, puppeteer, musician, and all-around good guy, Mr. Michael Lyons.
I can't do it.
Oh, just get out there.
Okay. BOOZHOO. Oh, brother, I don't think I can do this at all.
Just go out there. You'll be great.
Okay. Oh. BOOZHOO. BOOZHOO. Natasha Nindishanakaz. Neiman Wyndham. G-A-I-N. Omanungum. Natasha is my name, and I'm happy to be here today. I just said that in Ojibwe, in case anyone's wondering what I'm babbling around about. But I'm Natasha, and I'm on the show, BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO. NANABOOZHOO is my boyfriend, but Michael here is the producer of the show. He created it, and it's a YouTube channel. Has anybody here seen BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO on YouTube? Oh, great, cool. So tonight, what we'd like to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the show. I'm going to talk about Ojibwe language and culture and music and love and whatever else. If anybody has a question, you can always ask me a question. And we're also going to learn a little bit about ventriloquism. Does anybody know what a ventriloquist is? Have you seen those guys like Jeff Dunham? Well, Michael's, yeah, you've seen him, huh? Michael's a ventriloquist. You'll notice he doesn't move his lips when he talks. Isn't that right, Michael?
That's right. My name is Michael, and today I will be talking about ventriloquism.
In the Anishinaabe way, does anybody know the word Anishinaabe? Anishinaabe is the Ojibwe word for Indian, basically. I mean, it's not really for Indian, it means human being. But most of the time when we're talking about people, we'll call Indian people Anishinaabe. And does anyone know what we call white people? No racist jokes. That's not even funny. Cut it out, Mike. We call white people Chimukaman. Chimukaman. In Ojibwe, Chimukaman means chi means great or big, and mukaman means knife. So back in the days of the grandfathers, the first time Ojibwe people, Anishinaabes, met the Chimukaman, the white people, they had these long swords. And they were like, oh, wow, look at that sword. That's a great knife. I'm a little embarrassed to show you what my knife is. I've been using a bone to clean the fish. Wow, you guys have swords. From now on, let's call these people Chimukaman, the great knives, because they got great knives. And later on, it got shortened to like, oh, look out, here comes some Chimokes. But it's Chimukaman. Well, so what we do on BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, how much of the history should I tell?
Why don't you let me talk about the history? And can you tell the story about the migration?
Okay, I'll do that. All right. Well, actually, let me start with this. We're going to start with just a little. So we have this show on YouTube, right? And every day we teach Ojibwe words or phrases of the day. And then me and Nana Boozhoo will sing songs. And sometimes we sing songs about blueberry pie, because that's a really long word in Ojibwe. And we sing songs about just anything, really. John Denver. But, and also part of the thing about, sometimes people will ask me, how come you guys are learning Ojibwe? What's the point? We already speak English. Well, sometimes I think that learning the language, not only does it help you kind of connect with your grandma and your grandpa and your great-grandma and your great-grandpa and your great-great-great-great-great-great, whatever, your ancestors, but it can also help you learn about the history. Sometimes, let's face it, what we learn about history in school, especially Indian history, it gets summed up kind of like this. Back in the days of their grandfathers, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and then discovered America. And he gets off the boat, and all the Indians come around like, oh, wow, look at that guy. He's got a great boat. It's a really big boat. But Columbus gets off and, let me back up. Columbus sailed to America on the Pinta, the Nina, and the Ocasio-Cortez, I believe. It's something like that. And he comes over here and he says, oh, wow, look at this. I made it all around the world. I'm in India. Hey, you guys, are you Indians? And whatever they were, the Wampanoag or whoever, they go, no, we're Wampanoag, we're Native Americans, And he goes, nah, get out of here, you're Indians. And then they were just like, okay, fine, call us Indians. Hey, everybody, from now on, and spread the word, every indigenous person to the North and South American continents, from now on, let's just go by Indian. Because Christopher Columbus kind of screwed it up, and we're a little too Minnesota nice to correct him more than once. So then we just became Indians. Anyway, this is the story, though. So here we are in Little Falls, and this is central Minnesota. And nowadays, northern, all the way down to about here, all the way up to Canada and all the way over to like the East Coast, is a lot of Ojibwe speakers. If they don't speak Ojibwe, they speak some other like Algonquin version of Ojibwe, I would like to tell this story of the migration. What a lot of people don't understand, people go, oh yeah, this is Ojibwe land. But before, somebody mentioned it earlier, this used to be Dakota land. There were Sioux people. Like in Dances with Wolves, those guys. They used to live in Minnesota. But this is the story of the great migration of the Anishinaabe. Back in the days of the grandfathers, we lived out by Niagara Falls. And there was a medicine man, a Mushkiki Winini, a medicine man. He had a dream. He had a vision. The Great Spirit, Gitchimanadu, he says, hey, it's time you pack up and head west. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west. Now you guys need to pack up your stuff and take your canoes, and I want you to go west, and you're going to go find your new home. And the medicine man was like, oh yeah, okay. Just one question. How far west? And he goes, you'll know you're there when you come to the place where water grows, or where food grows on the water. And the medicine man was like, listen, Gitchimanadu, Great Spirit. No offense, but I think you mean when food grows in the water, like fish. And Great Spirit was like, hey, don't get smart, man. I know what I said. And so he got up and he rounded up the village and he was like, okay, everybody, we got to go west. Everybody, they started to canoe. And they paddled and they paddled and they paddled till their arms were like spaghetti and they were so tired. And eventually they came to a place where wild rice grew and it looked like it was growing right on the water. And they were like, oh, wow, look at this, Monoman, wild rice. Looks like we've come to our home. And the medicine man was like, yep, here we are, just as Gitche Manadoo told us. And then the only problem was there was already people living here, the Dakota. And so a Dakota guy comes up, he's like, hey, welcome to Minnesota. And the Ojibways were like, hey, hi, guess what? This is our new home. We're going to move in. And the Dakota guys were like, what? No, this is our home. I mean, you can stay for a sandwich. I'll get the old lady to make some coffee or something, but no, we live here. And the Ojibways were like, but do you rice? Do you like to, harvest wild rice? And the Dakota guy was like, no, we eat our dogs. What? Yeah, here, puppy, come on, time to eat. Here, hang on, we're going to get you something to eat. And the Ojibwe guy was like, hey, we don't eat puppies. They're our friends. And so we started to war. We went to war with the Dakota. And Ojibwe guy says, hey, you know what? We've been trading with these Frenchmen, the French voyageurs. And they gave us this thing called, what they call this? That's a gun? Oh, okay. It's called a gun. So you're going to have to mahjong. You're going to have to leave and say hello to my little friend. And so they had a big battle. And this is part of Ojibwe history I don't really believe, but I've been told my whole life. Up where I'm from is near Red Lake Reservation. And the story goes, Misquah Gamiwi, Red Lake, they named it that because of this great battle. So many people died that the lake ran red with blood. And then you think, wait a minute, what? Did they really have a battle down by like the swimming area? How many people would have to die to make Red Lake? Have you guys seen how big Red Lake is? That's ridiculous. It would never run red. That just sounds like something from a movie. But I don't know. So, but apparently, it was true. They lived here and we pushed them out. We were like, hey, I think there's some buffalo running. You better go get it. Hey, Dances with Wolves. I think your mother's calling. And we pushed them out. And then we set up here and we started to harvest wild rice. And we would snare rabbits. And we would go up to Walmart and get the Tombstone pizza. And this has been the Ojibwe culture. And the story of the Ojibwe migration. Thank you very much. Good enough?
Yeah, that was great.
What day is it today?
Today is Thursday.
Thursday. So Thursday is Neo Gisha Gud. In the Ojibwe language, we call Thursday fourth day. So on an average show day, whatever, we'd start the show saying, oh, today's Thursday, it's Neo Gisha Gud. But one of the things, you know what? I should have did this before I even told the story.
What's that?
I haven't put out any tobacco.
Oh, yeah, why don't you put some tobacco out and you can teach them about that.
All right. Let me see, I have some. Before I start, sometimes I like to say a little prayer. And in the Anishinaabe way, sometimes we offer tobacco, a sema. Or depending where you're from, if you're from Net Lake, you probably call it sema. Or if you're from like Fond du Lac or somewhere, you say o sema. But in Leech Lake, we say a sema, tobacco. And if you watch movies, they're always like, oh yeah, let's smoke tobacco in a peace pipe. But you don't have to smoke it. You can just put it out like in a tree or something. It's like a little gift for your prayer. And one of the things we do sometimes is that we'll offer tobacco to the four directions, to the spirits of the four directions. Now, my problem is I got no idea which way east is.
Yeah, I don't either. Does anybody know which way east is? That way? Okay.
Okay, this way. So sometimes when I pray, I'll start by offering tobacco, and I'll pray in Ojibwe. So here you can learn a little Ojibwe. Gitche Manadoo. That's great spirit. Hey, what's up?
Hello, me daughter.
Oh, hi. What are you doing here?
I was listening to your prayers.
Hey, everybody. It's a great spirit.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Wow, great spaghetti manado. I was just going to give you some tobacco.
Well, you go ahead, me daughter. I will be listening.
All right. I'm just going to do it, though. You're going to distract me if we keep talking.
No. Don't let me distract you, Nindonis.
Nindonis, my daughter. Yeah, okay. Nusana wakwing abian, my Father who art in heaven. Nah.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
All right. So, here is offering tobacco. You start at the east, because that's where the sun comes from. And I'm going to say, Otapana niwi asema, manadugo wede, wabanung. Please accept my tobacco spirits over there in the east. Now we go to south will be this way, right? This way, thank you. Adapana niwi asema manadugo wede jawanung. Accept my tobacco spirits over there in the south. Adapana niwi asema manadugo wede ningabi anang to the west. Then we go to the south. Odapana niwi asema manadugo wede wabanung, or to the north, I guess. Giweda nanung to the north. Then we offer a little bit to Mother Earth. Odapana niwi asema mama aki. And back up to the Great Spirit. Odapana niwi asema gitche manadu. And if you have a pipe, you can put it in then. Or you can just go, I'm going to set this right. You can actually, sometimes people put tobacco on the drum. Give a little tip to the whatever. It doesn't really matter. But, sometimes that's how I like to start a prayer. And so right now I'm going to say a little prayer. Because, we don't got a script. Couldn't be bothered to think about what we're going to say tonight, huh?
Yeah, I figured it'd come.
Kitchi manadu. Taka we tuka wishin. Minaway noongum. Great Spirit, please help me to speak well today. Kitchi manadu. Mikwech ka iji kakina keku ka iji chikeya nungum. Thank you for everything that you do today. Mikwech wa'au mamarizayan. Thank you for my life. Mikwech for the memories. Mikwech for, I don't know. Ni indinawe magana dug. Thank you for my family. And indinawe magana dug is kind of like my people. It's not just your family, but it's also your friends and your brother from another mother, your sister from another mister, And then I would say, Mikwech bisandawiek. Thank you for listening. Ape enge. Of course, I already put my tobacco down. Amen. And this is kind of how you pray in Ojibwe. Now, I was taught, is this true, Kichimanadu?
What's that, Nindonis?
Is it true that you speak all the languages?
Do I speak all the languages? I invented the languages. Of course I speak the languages, Nindonis.
Oh, right. So does it matter if I pray in Ojibwe?
It only matters if it matters to you. I understand all the languages, but sometimes speaking your language will connect you to your ancestors, and it'll make you feel more spiritual.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that's why I do it. Anyway, so our show is kind of about, it's totally about teaching Ojibwe and telling stories. But once in a while, people will get annoyed. And I know there's some people here right now who know what I'm talking about. We'll get annoyed with our show because we're not what they expect. They'll get on here, and I remember one time it was the best heckle. Somebody came on totally not trying to be rude. They just said, is this supposed to be funny? It's like, yes, it's supposed to be that's the hard part. You can look up how to say Ojibwe words in so many different places. It'd be much more efficient to learn Ojibwe almost anywhere than watching our show. What? You come to Ernie and Bert's house and then you're disappointed that it's not more academic? Come on. But, so we do our little show and we try to teach. But also, just while we're teaching, sometimes we tell stories. And it's been really sweet because we connect. It's a live show on YouTube. And so people come and they'll write notes. And sometimes Michael here and me, and certainly NanaBOOZHOO, they'll tell stories about their lives. And sometimes it gets kind of deep. Sometimes it gets a little personal. Sometimes it gets a little politically incorrect.
Yeah, I know.
But where was I going with this?
Something about the show and how we trail off.
Yeah, we talk and tell stories. Oh, but we share stuff about our lives. And there was one show in particular where Michael, I think it was NanaBOOZHOO actually, we did a whole show talking about death of a pet. Now, Michael had a little pet, a pet cat. Well, we all did. I had a cat too. What am I saying? I miss her more than you do. Had a cat called Princess, who passed away about 4 years ago now.
I'm going to say 6. No, it's probably 4.
I don't remember. But it was traumatic. We fell apart. We loved that little kitty, and she was really old. And it took a long time for us to get over it.
I've never gotten over it.
Yeah, I know, me either. But in our show, sometimes we talk about, well, what is the traditional way? What did the ancestors think about your pet? You know, in Ojibwe, a cat is Gajagaints. And, you know, I actually don't know that much about cats and Indians. I know we didn't eat them, but sometimes, you know, the show can get very heavy. Not heavy, but kind of serious in a way. Like, we've cried on the show more than once.
I know, it's really embarrassing. I almost cried today.
I know, because it's live, but whatever. But then it's also really sweet because we get nice, you know, people write in, sometimes little kids, lots of times grandmas write us in going, oh, I love your show. I grew up on whatever reservation, blah, blah, blah. And I've been trying to teach my grandkids, and they don't want to learn from me, but they love you. And I'm like, well, send them over. We'll sing at them. But, so, what else? When Michael was 14 years old, he was watching Mr. Rogers, as a teenage boy is wont to do. And there was a cartoonist on there. And it was the cartoonist who drew like the high and lowest, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but he definitely drew that comic strip.
And he was talking to Mr. Rogers. And was that the first time you thought about being a cartoonist?
Well, I always liked drawing, and so I thought maybe I could draw comic books or something. But when I saw that guy on Mr. Rogers, it made me think, oh, wait, it'd be a lot easier to be a comic strip artist. And I really loved Charlie Brown and Doonesbury, and so I started drawing those kind of comic strips.
Yeah, okay. So Michael was drawing Ojibwe, word of the day comic strips for the last number of years. And he called them Ojibberish. So it'd be like a word of the day, and eventually it became a book. So Michael was drawing comic strips that were would teach Ojibwe word. And then he'd share it on Facebook and stuff. And people liked them, and they were like, hey, how do you say that word? And so we went, you know what? We got to do a video so we can pronounce the word so people can learn the word. Because some words are really long, and even if you read it, you couldn't say, like, what's that word for, was it blueberry pie?
You know what the word for blueberry pie?
Oh, you mean, Minabashki Minasagani Batusachigani Bakoishigan? Yeah, I know that word. Yeah. You should sing that song.
You want me to sing the song?
Minabashki Minasagani Batusachigani Bakoishigan. You see, the thing about blueberry pie, they say it's the longest word in Ojibwe. And it probably is. But it's not. It's also blueberry sauce in a folded bread. If you directly, Ojibwe is weird that way, you know. If you want to watch a movie about how strange our languages are, remember the Navajo code talkers? I think Adam Beach was in that movie too. He's like the one Indian actor we got. He's in every role. But Nicolas Cage. Oh, look out! Here comes Nicolas Cage. He's gonna save the war. But these Navajo speakers, they couldn't break the code, because the language it wasn't just, what's the Navajo word for tank? They had to invent it. They would go, oh, tank, well, it's like a big turtle on a track. What's the word for turtle on a track? They'll just invent it. Well, Ojibwe is kind of like that. Like, I think our favorite word, the first video I ever did, Michael or NanaBOOZHOO sang a song for coffee. Has anyone ever heard of the Ojibwe word for coffee? In English, we call it black medicine water. Makade mushkiki wabu. And it was the first word Michael's grandpa ever taught him. Because they were sitting around, they would get up just early in the morning, and Michael's grandpa, Aubrey Lyons, being grandpa of the year, Michael lived down in the basement of his grandparents' house when he was a little guy. And you could hear his grandpa get up just early. You know how that generation, the World War II guys, the fishermen, they would get up at like 4 in the morning? Well, Michael would get up with his grandpa, and he'd go up there, and his grandpa would make coffee for himself, and then make a cup for Michael, because, well, here comes a 6-year-old. Better get him a cup of coffee. And they would sit by the window there and look out at the lake. And lots of times, they would just sit there. This is one thing I learned, too, about culture. Sometimes in our show, we just kind of talk about culture. And people go, what is Indian culture? Well, one of the differences between white and Indian culture, I know I'm just kind of all over the place, but I learned this. They say in Indian culture, non-Indian people, white people, are child-centered when they pay attention to the kids. The adults will have a birthday party, and even the grown-ups will put on the hats and play on the floor with the kids. They're child-centered. Indian people, they're adult-centered. Grandpa, if you want to go to the dump with him, he'll let you go. If he's going fishing and you want to, well, you better get up and get going. He's not going to have like a special fishing trip just for you. You can be part of his life. So Michael and his grandpa would sit up in the morning, and sometimes, he'd have to do grandpa stuff like drink coffee, go to the dump in the pickup, But anyway, you can tell a story about your grandpa too.
Okay.
Was I in the middle of something, or can I get out?
Why don't you take a break, and I'll take over.
All right. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Michael Lyons, the rock star cartoon. Oh, this is another thing. Let me finish this one thought. So Michael drew the comic strips, and then we made the show so people could learn what the language sounded like. And then it just sort of grew into this live comedy show. And that's what we are. We're just a comedy show, and we happen to teach language and culture and history. But we also talk about celebrity gossip. We have Keanu Reeves calls in a lot. And like lately, Keanu's been dating a woman who is like 10 years younger than him, but she happens to have gray hair. And so Michael is constantly making fun of her being like an old lady and pooping her Depends and stuff when she's on the show. It's not funny.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, but it's not respectful. You're supposed to be respectful.
Okay, I'll try.
All right. But so we'd also do like celebrity gossip, conspiracy theories. Don't get them talking about the moon landing hoax. But, we cover a lot of stuff. But it's rooted in Ojibwe stuff. And it all came because Michael was drawing comic strips that would teach Ojibwe. This is Dog in Maingan, teaches you how to count to 10 in Ojibwe. BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, but this is my favorite.
Yeah, this is stupid.
No, it's not.
It's kind of stupid.
It's kind of stupid. Hold on. I'm choking. Oh, okay, I'm better now. When Michael was a little kid,
I'm going to do the rest of the show just like this.
he wanted to be a rock star cartoonist. Missy, can you please jump up here to grab this thing right away? Thank you. Rock star cartoonist. This is why we do this on camera, by the way. And what finally happened, I'll just let you talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for letting me come up here. Oh, you're so sweet. I'll be back. And here's one more phrase. In Ojibwe, we don't say goodbye, because we always know we'll see each other again. So we say, I will see you again. And that's Gigawaba Min Minawa Hawa Miigwech. Thank you so much.
So Natasha talked about blueberry pie. Mina, Bushki, Mina, Sagani, Batusi, Jagani, Bakwe, Jagan. And I taught Ojibwe at a school in Bemidji for 3 years. And anytime you teach Ojibwe, you're going to hear every Ojibwe teacher mentions this. Somebody's going to come up and say, oh, really, you're teaching Ojibwe? Do you know the word for blueberry pie? And so you have to make sure you know blueberry pie. And so I wrote this song, and I can't play guitar and do Natasha's mouth at the same time, but when you hear me singing, oh, here's something I have to explain too. Kids, if you're interested in acting or puppetry or whatever, you might have noticed when I do Natasha's voice, I have to make a really goofy look on my face. Because Natasha, it's hard to do her voice and look manly and cool. Like, hello there. You gotta like be a smile, and so when I do her, I'm always like, hey everybody, what's going on? And I know it looks ridiculous, but trust me, those guys on Sesame Street, they're making just funny faces underneath there, you know. So I'm gonna sing, when you hear Natasha's voice, it's her singing, not me. But this is a song about blueberry pie. I wanted a piece of blueberry pie, so I went up and I asked this guy, but he only spoke Ojibwe, so I had to say, Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batu Sujikani. You're not singing along, Cat. Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batu Sujikani. Bakwejigan, Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. Bakwejigan, Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. Bakwejigan. Remember, this isn't Michael singing, this is Natasha. Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. Bakwejigan, Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. Bakwejigan, Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. Bakwejigan, Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. And I wanted a piece of blueberry pie, so I went up and I asked that guy. Some reason he only spoke Ojibwe. I think he had a bad attitude, but whatever. Mina Bushki Mina Sagani Batusi Chikani. Bakwejigan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This is Amick, beaver. And Amick, by the way, I always kind of put him on mic stands like this. When we film, I'll do the talking. Yes, I'm sorry. When we film, you know, there's something to consider. It's really hard to kind of hold this, and you go to careful with that. But so this is Amick. He's fairly new. Yes, I'm Amick. Amick Nindigen cause. Sometimes people are rather surprised that I should have such a thick English accent because I am from Leech Lake Reservation. This is Muckwa. And Muckwa is a bear. And who was I talking to? We were talking about dogs. And they have a dog called Bear. Or I thought it was Bear, but it turned out to be, is it Barry? Bailey. And I go, yeah, I've never heard of a dog named a bear. And I thought, well, actually I have. I had a friend whose dad had a big black dog, and they called him Bear. And then I had about 5 different Indian friends who had a dog called Muckwa, because they all named their black dogs Bear, Muckwa. But this is Muckwa. And Muckwa, when I first started doing him, well, BOOZHOO, Muckwa Nindigen Nakaz. Muckwa is my name. And yeah, Muckwa, I'm a bear. I'm from the bear clan, Muckwa Dodam. And what can I say? We're the protectors of the people. The Muckwa, the bears, we patrol the perimeters. You know, that's what it means to be a bear. It's taking responsibility. And usually, I don't know what I'm doing up. I'm usually asleep in the winters. I like to take a nap. You know, in the winter we hibernate, but you know, what are you going to do? But what a lot of people don't understand about the bear, Muckwa, is that, you know, just because it says the food's expired, that don't mean it ain't still good. You can go to the dump and eat just whatever you want. There's more delicious food at the res dump. So, Muckwa. And what do I represent? Muckwa bears represent, courage. They're the warrior clan. Courage. Aquade Ewin. Courage. Well, that's Muckwa. And flannel's really big in my house for some reason. Everybody likes to wear flannel. And this here was my first kind of B-list character to the show. This is Anamosh. Anamosh in Ojibwe means dog. And Anamosh is from the southern tip of the Leech Lake Reservation. BOOZHOO, Anamosh, Nindigen Nakaz. Anamosh is my name. That's right. I do have a slight, I would say a slight southern accent. It's nothing, I beg your pardon, but I am hardly Forrest Gump. I am just a southern drawl Ojibwe dog. I'm a res dog. Anamosh. And Anamosh is like really chill. He also sometimes works the board. Like he'll test the microphones and stuff. You'll see him on there. He's like, all right. Oh, can you give me a test, a check 1, 2, Natasha? Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. All right, darling. He's like a really calm presence. On the other hand, his brother, Benjamin, got his name from, I didn't realize it at the time. We had a dog called Benjamin. Remember, he was actually called Ben, but he was a Cocker Spaniel. And my little brother named after Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then eventually became Ben. But I bought this guy, and I put a t-shirt on him, and it was a couple of days after I'd filmed him singing and stuff, where it occurred to me, it's like, why did I name him Benjamin? I like the name. I went, oh wait, Ben, we had a dog. But Benjamin's is the less couth, less clever than his older brother, and he talks like Bruce Springsteen sings, only with speaking. So you know how like Bruce Springsteen was always like, and I got Mary pregnant. You know, well, he kind of talks like that. Hey, everybody, I'm Benjamin. Benjamin Nindigen Nakaz. And yeah, And I'm really happy to be here. Niman Wyndham, G-A-I-N, Omanungum. And he's like really pretty optimistic, happy. He sings bass a lot. Like, remember when you did that, we were doing, what song was that by Joe Jackson? Is she really going out with him? Bum, ba-dum, 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 bum, bum, ba-dum, 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 bum, bum, ba-dum. Pretty women. No, keep going. I can't keep going. Oh, that's right. Okay, hey, BOOZHOO. Our voices really sound a lot alike. Do you think so? Yeah, maybe not. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for showing up. Michael will rattle off all day long about his life. Me, I get to the point. Nah. Before I get started, the way he gone. Today I would like to tell the story of Mick, the beaver, and how Mick got his tail. Back in the days of... You notice how all my stories start like that? Back in the days of the grandfathers. Mick, he had a big fluffy tail. Not like today, you know, the beavers, they got flat black tail, not all that special. Well, back in the good old days, beaver had a tail even fluffier than a fox. And he was so proud of that tail, he would just sashay around the woods, showing off his tail to anybody who would look. The day came, he walked up to Muckwa, the bear. He says, "Hey, Muckwa, check out my tail. Isn't it beautiful?" And Muckwa looks at him and he says, "Oh yeah, it's very, very nice tail there. You must be very proud." He goes, "Yeah, I bet you wish you had a tail like mine." And Muckwa says, "You know, I just got this little short black tail, but it suits me fine. I don't mind." You're just jealous." And Mick turned on his heel and stormed off. Well, he comes up to old Ondag, the crow. "Hey, Ondag, check out my tail. Isn't it beautiful?" And Ondag goes, "Oh yeah, it's all fluffy like a fox. It's very beautiful." Mick, "You must be very proud." He goes, "Yeah, don't you wish you had a tail like mine?" He says, "You know, I know my tail is sort of black, but it helps me steer when I fly. You know, it suits me just fine, so now you can keep your tail." And Mick says, "You're just jealous." And he turned on his heel and stormed off. Well, he kept going with all his friends, trying to show off, and nobody would give him any satisfaction. I mean, they were nice about it, but it wasn't enough. Now, Beaver, Mick, as you probably know, he's a great logger. Everybody knows he's famous. He can drop a tree anywhere he wants. He's just chewing on those trees, really good loggers. But this one day, old Mick, he wasn't paying attention. And instead of dropping that tree forward, it started to fall backwards towards him. And it landed. What a smack! And just in the last second, he jumps out of the way. But his hands and his feet got stuck there, and so did his tail. And you ever see like Bugs Bunny commercials or cartoons? It gets all flat and they just pull it out. It's just like that. And he pulls it out, and he sees that what was once a beautiful fluffy tail is now flat like a pancake. Like a burnt pancake, it's all black. And he starts to cry. And he cries out to Gitchimanadu, the Great Spirit. He says, "Gitchimanadu, what? Look what you've done to me. Look at my tail." And Gitchimanadu, he calls down. He says, "Mick, you've done this to yourself." Why? Because you weren't paying attention. That tree fell on your tail. But because you were acting so ugly to your friends, what was once a beautiful fluffy tail is now flat and black and gross. But listen, I want you to do something for me. Why don't you jump in that river? He's like, "Oh, Gitchimanadu, I don't feel like it. I just smashed my hands flat. Look at this." Because now his hands had they looked like webbing, and his feet too. Because just jump in there. So he jumps in the river. And what does he find out? He can swim just great.
His hands have webbing now. And that tail, now it was like a canoe paddle. And he could swim just fast. And he started to build a home under the water. And he gets out and he goes, Kichimanadu, I don't know what to say. And the Great Spirit said, don't say anything. Just remember that you cannot have too much pride. And you should not treat your friends so ugly, or ugly things will happen to you. But also realize that what you think is a bad thing sometimes turns around to be a good thing for you. In every bad thing, there's a silver lining. It's like a silver lining in a rain cloud. Are there silver linings in rain clouds? I don't think so. Well, whatever. And this was the day that Gichimanadu, the Great Spirit, he said, there is no good or bad. It's all relative. And that's why I'm a Buddhist. What? No, just kidding. But this is a story of how a Mick Beaver got his tail. Okay, hey. You know what I should have told the story of? The creation story? Yeah, that's a much better story. But we're running out of time. The way you got on the drum. Okay, hey, BOOZHOO! NANABOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO. Hey, Michael, I just remembered something. What's that? I wasn't going to come out until afterwards. Yeah, why are you out here? Because you came back and you grabbed me. All right. You want to come back later? Yeah, I'll be back later. What was that phrase? Giga waba min minawa. I'll see you again. One of the things about Anishinaabe culture, they say you should have humility. Dabadain dizzy win. You're not supposed to brag about yourself. So I apologize for being in a spotlight up here talking about myself. But when I got inspired to do this, and everything fell into place perfectly. The characters came to me, the clothing, just like Gichimanadu was saying, okay, here we go. You're on the path finally. And one of the things why it felt so right was that so much of my childhood and then my family and my ancestors and stuff also played a part in the creation of the songs and the characters. So I didn't want, actually let me not do this first. I'm going to close out the show with a song about boarding schools. Here's one for the kids. You ever wonder why more people don't speak Ojibwe? Like you'll go to school and, you know, the Mexican kid, he still speaks Spanish. And Norwegian kids, you know, there's a lot of that. But a lot of Indian kids, they don't know their language at all. Well, back in the days of the grandfathers, they had this thing called Indian residential schools, boarding schools, where when the dust settled and there was no more wars between Indian people and white government, they said, okay, we're not going to fight anymore. We're going to have these reservations, and you know, we wrote up treaties and stuff, but the Indian people said, we don't want our kids to be second-class citizens. We want them to have the same education as your kids. So they built these boarding schools. And they took the kids from all over the country. In my case, both of my grandparents went to Flandreau Indian Boarding School in Flandreau, South Dakota. And Flandreau is about an 8-hour drive nowadays. And my grandfather didn't like it very much, and he ran away 3 times before he finally got away on the 4th time. And he would run away by sneaking out of the school at night. Oh, let me back up a little more for the kids. So picture back in the days of the grandfathers when Indian people all had long hair. Not like today when we all cut our hair short. And you would wear like, NANABOOZHOO's got a choker and, you know, beadwork and stuff like that. When the kids went to the new school, they had to give up all their clothes, and they were given uniforms. And they also said, you must never speak your language again. You can only speak English in the school. Well, some of the kids didn't even speak English, and so they didn't know what was going on. But they would cut their hair, and they would give them a new name. Some of these kids, you know, they would have an Indian name. You know, they might be called Little Bear, Mokuntz or something. Mom named him Mokuntz. He's a Little Bear. When we went to boarding school, they went, no, your name is Joe Johnson. And so the kids grew up not knowing their language, and they also grew up away from their families, so they didn't know how to hunt or fish or cook or any of the Indian stuff. They were raised at schools. My grandfather, by the time he was 14, he said, well, this is enough. I'm going to run away. And so he and his brother, Ray, would sneak out at night, and there was a train that would come up north. And they thought, well, if we can jump on that train, we can ride it up to north. It'll eventually get to Bena, which is 2-3 hours from here, on Leech Lake Reservation. And so they did that. They would sneak out at night, jump on the train. Eventually the cops would come and find them and bring them back to the boarding school. On the last time, my grandpa got singled out, and the principal came out, and he said, if any of you kids have this similar idea, this is what's going to happen to you. And they whipped him in front of the whole school. So he decided to go run away again. Only this time, it was the middle of the day, and he used to tell a story about how he was sitting in class, and he saw a whippoorwill, a bird, perched up on the sill there. And he goes, that bird has the right idea. So I closed my book, and I got up, and I started walking out. And the teacher looked at me and goes, where do you think you're going? He goes, I'm going home. And it was one of those weird things where you just walk out, and the teacher's like, someone else will deal with that. Broad daylight, walked out, hopped on that train. This time he made it all the way back to Bena. And he jumps off, and he walks into the backyard of his dad's. His dad's raking. Where'd you come from? Where do you think? And he never went back to school. So I wrote a song. I might as well. I didn't want to bum anybody out because it's kind of a sad song. So don't be sad. It makes me happy to sing this. But this is a song I wrote about that experience. And it kind of goes along with this show where when I was in a lot of bands. I've written a lot of songs about breaking up with girls that nobody was interested in. But when I wrote a song about boarding school, suddenly people were like, hey, yeah, tell us what's up with your grandpa. So this is a song I wrote called Home with a harmonica. Oh, it is. I was born in 1913 in the storm of 1913. But then at boarding school I was nobody's fool down at Flandreau. Well, I grew madder every day. That's why I had to run away. 'Cause this is no way to live. And I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. But on a fateful day, me and my brother Ray, we planned our getaway. If we can make it to them tracks, we won't be coming back. We're gonna hop a train. I thought we got away, but then the cops came and took us back to a leather strap. But I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. I wanna go home. And I remember it still. I saw a whippoorwill out on my windowsill. How could I sit still? So I got right up and I walked right out. The teacher said to me, "Where do you think you're going?" Boy, I said, "I'm going home." I wanna go home. I wanna go home. Niwikiwe. 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 Thank you. Big watch.